Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. I'm Clifton, and I'm joined by my colleagues Friedrich and Gert, and together we're the Belgian Power Apps and Flow user group. We started this group in 2018, and we have grown to approximately 250 plus members. Our main goal is promoting the adoption of the Microsoft Power Platform. We are focused on the non-BI components of the Microsoft Power Platform and their interaction with the surrounding ecosystem. We organize events throughout the whole year. Sometimes we do it alone, and sometimes we work closely with other user groups and associations. You can find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you'd like to know more about us, please feel free to take a look on our website. So today we're joined by April Dunnam. For those who follow the activities in the community closely, know that April is a well-known figure in the community, and you can say that she's some kind of you can say she's a legend actually. You can say she's a legend. So what I will do, let's just now switch over to April to introduce herself and show what she's got in store for us today. Go ahead, April.
All right, thanks, Clifton. Happy to be here talking with you all. As I understand it, from talking with Clifton, you all had some interest in learning more about AI Builder for the Power Platform. So that's what I want to talk with everyone about today is do a quick intro 101 level into AI Builder and talk at a high level some of the functionality that it can bring. And just a quick introduction about me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is April Dunnam. I work for Microsoft as a partner technical architect, so working closely with our partner ecosystem and helping those who might need some skilling or stuck on building a solution for Power Platform and Teams. Prior to joining Microsoft, I was an MVP in the business apps space, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, an active YouTuber. So you can find me on YouTube. I provided the link there. Definitely, if you're getting started with the Power Platform at all, or everywhere from beginner to more advanced topics, I have for Power Apps, Power Automate, SharePoint, and Teams. So definitely check that out if that's interesting to you. And I'm an active blogger as well. So I have a blog called SharePointSiren.com. All right, and I'm actually going to turn off my video because I know that might affect bandwidth here. So the general agenda that I wanted to cover with you all is why we have a need for a tool such as AI Builder, do a high-level overview of the functionality, and then point you to some resources and answer any questions if you have them. So addressing the need for AI Builder first, access to AI in general needs to be easy. Because one of the main reasons is we're actually facing a talent shortage. So if you watched Charles Lamanna's video that he, I think, just posted yesterday about Power Platform, he kind of highlighted this in that video as well, that there's a big shortage of developers and then that can't meet the need of the solutions that need to be built. So that's really why we need to be able to have some kind of mechanism for AI specifically that can allow the business users who know the business processes and what they're trying to solve to build out these solutions using AI technology. So that's where AI Builder really comes into play. So AI Builder is part of the Power Platform. So it's kind of built on top of it here. So you can see like the Power Platform itself, resides in a common data service. You have data connectors, and then AI Builder is a piece of that which you can read and use within the different Power Platform tools. And what it's going to allow you to do is get an easy to use, guided, point and click AI applications so that everyone at every skill level can build and take advantage of some of these functionalities. And just like the Power Platform products themselves, like Power Apps and Power Automate, it's extensible. So you can embed these within the Power Platform and Dynamics and add on to these. So just diving right in, the easiest way to get started with some of these AI Builder functionality is to take advantage of some of the models. So first, I want to do a high-level overview of the 4 main types of models that you can use and build with an AI Builder. The first is the prediction model. So this allows you to use your database and this AI model to determine the likelihood of specific business outcomes. So if you're trying to analyze data to see if, a sale is going to actually turn in, or lead is going to actually turn into a sale, that's something that this prediction model can help you with. The other is forms processing, which I'll do a demo later on. So that allows you to take a form, say an invoice or like some kind of information like that. You can read, extract, and process that data from the scans, emails, PDFs, and all of that, and read the data from it and put it into your database. The other model is object detection. So you might have seen if you've watched any videos on AI Builder. I know one of the most popular demos that you'll see is they take a picture of a vending machine with soda, and they're able to identify there's 15 Coke cans in there and 10 Pepsi cans. So that's something that this object detection AI capability model will do for you. And then the final type of model is text classification. So what that allows you to do is build an app that can review, tag, and classify large volumes of text so that it can then track sentiment, so if it's positive or negative, and improve customer experience and gain insights. So those are the four main custom models that you can define and create in AI Builder, which we'll look at here in a bit. But there's also several built-in models that don't even require any customizations, that are just ready to use out of the box, that you can leverage as well. One, which we'll look at, is business card reader. So this is a common request. So before this was implemented and available, you'd have to do a lot of custom code to be able to go and look and implement some kind of mechanism to scan a business card and extract the data out of that. Now they made it easy with AI Builder. It's just a control that you add into your Power App, and you upload your business card, and it takes all of that data out of there for you, so that you can import it into CRM or your Outlook as a contact, whatever your need might be. The other model that's pre-built is sentiment analysis. So this is that case where maybe you want to paste in reviews from your website for your product. So you can put in the review, and this will be able to tell you, is this a positive review, a negative, neutral, maybe mixed? So you can analyze that with this pre-built control also. The other is key phrase extraction. So you can point this to some text, and it will help identify the key phrases stored in that text document. We also have language detection that can be used to specify the predominant language of a document that you send in, so that you can tag it and classify it accordingly. And then finally, text recognition. So you can extract embedded and printed and even handwritten text from documents and images into machine readable character streams with that. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of history of and roadmap of how far some of these AI Builder functionalities have come with the Power Platform. So it was released in October 2019, GA. So the prediction and the business card reader is when those two main functionalities were released. In preview functionalities of forms processing, object detection, text classification, sentiment analysis, key phrase extraction, language, and text recognition. In April of 2020, so just a few months ago, the forms processing capability went live, general availability, and it's included in SharePoint Project Cortex, if you're familiar with that. And then we had a few new preview functionalities with text category classification. And kind of looking ahead in the Wave 2 release notes for Power Platform, you might have noticed there were a few AI Builder updates coming just next month, hopefully, for to make text category classification, entity extraction and prediction forecasting, and image tagging generally available, and preview features for anomaly detection, image classification, and object detection feedback loop. So that's kind of what's coming ahead for AI Builder. So obviously some of the availability, as far as if this is a preview functionality or general availability, might vary by region. So it's just a chart kind of showing you as of right now, and looking ahead, what different forms processing and AI builder functionalities are available and which regions as preview or general availability. So diving a little bit more into the pre-built models piece, and then I'm going to go into a demo here. So the four main things we'll look at today, we'll look at business card reader, key phrase extraction, language detection, sentiment analysis, and text recognition. So again, all out of the box functionality that we don't even have to do any customization to. And some upcoming features along the pre-built model side are some updates to the text recognition control to improve that and anomaly detection. So that'll be pretty cool. All right, so I've talked a lot. So I think this is one of those things that's best to just see in person, see live how this works. So for AI Builder, first of all, if you don't have the licensing for it, you can get a free preview. So you can go either to your Flow portal or Power Automate portal or Power Apps, and you'll see on the left-hand side an option for AI Builder. So you can go to the Build tab in here. And from here, if you don't already have a free trial or licensing, you should see an option here to get a free trial. So that's what I've did here. I have a 30-day trial to try out some of this AI Builder functionality and see what I can do with it. So here's where you'll see the different models. So those are those models that we can customize and configure that I just went over. And where it says get straight to productivity, these are the pre-built models that I was just talking about and going to be showing you. So what you can do is this is your one-stop shop to get more information about what these pre-built models can do for you. So if I click on Business Card Reader, for example, it's going to show me, some get started guide and some best practices for it. So obviously you want to use clear images and not blurry low-res images. And then directly from here, I can actually click use in a flow or use in an app. And just to test out the functionality, this, like if I click to use in an app just there, it's going to open up a new Power App and I can test out this business card reader. And same thing if I were to have clicked use in a flow, it would have opened, and let me just show you that way that's loading. It will open Power Automate. And there's some templates for Power Automate that help make this even easier if you want to use the business card reader in there. So there's a pre-built instant flow template, for example, where it will create a contact in the common data service from a business card that you scan in, and we'll use AI Builder to do that. So actually, since Power Apps is loading right now, let's take a look at that first. So we can just use this template. We can click on that. And it's using the common data service. Whoops. So I got to switch environments here. I'm not in my premium one. So just a second. I'll try this again. There we go. So let's click use in a flow. Yeah, so this is just a simple concept of using the flow button to kick this off. So we'll click continue. So you see it's automatically getting an input for us for a file. So we can upload a file directly from the flow. And then it's using the predict action in Power Automate, which is part of AI Builder. So we can point that to the business card model that's already created for us if you're utilizing AI Builder, and pass it in the image from our manual trigger input. Then that's going to go create a new record in the context entity of Common Data Service. And with this, we could, obviously add another action. We could have it add, we can say add an Outlook contact as well. So really extensible once we have that information extracted from here. So let's just save this and see how it works from the Power Automate side of things. We'll just run a test directly from the editor. And this will pop up and ask me to upload the image. So I can select import. And in my downloads, should have a folder for business cards. So let's select this one here and run. And we can kind of watch the flow run and go. So I can see it was triggered. I can expand out this predict action, which is what's doing the hard work of figuring out what information is in that business card. And if we examine the output here, you see it was able to extract and map the contact's first name, their title, last name, the company that they work with, and give you a return back a cleaned image. And if we expand out the create a new record, we see that it was able to map that into the common data service in the correct fields. So pretty cool. There's nothing that we needed to do. We didn't have to train this to do this. It's just all built in and baked into the AI Builder functionality within the Power Platform. And how that same concept could look from the Power App side. So in that example, this is where I selected to use in an app. So what this is going to do for the sample is automatically insert the business card reader control within Power Apps. So if you're doing this from an app that you already have built, you can just select the Insert tab and AI Builder and just add in that business card reader control. This is what it will look like here. And if we run this, so we'll be able to just scan a business card from the control, open, and this will run just like it did in Power Automate and extract it. So the only thing that you'll need to do is build in some inputs to take the data, and so you can see what was outputted from the control. So I'll just add in a few inputs here, and we'll go into the text input default property, and you can just bind it directly to the business card reader. So you can say business card reader dot, and then this will give you all the properties that the business card reader is going to get from that control. So I can get full name, for example. So see, as soon as I populate that, that's the output that that got, and I can just map these fields. We can find the, let's see email. Guess there wasn't an email in there. So it's really as simple as that. You just put in the control and then have it fill out the data. We could have it write to a data source from here if we needed to. And all of that was just as simple as adding in the control. Let's go back. So the other one that I wanted to show, and I have this demo up here, is receipt processing. So that's another great one. I don't think, yeah. So it's right here. So if we look at that, what's cool about the receipt processing, if you look at it from the AI Builder site, there's a try it out tab. So you can actually see and upload a demo receipt and without having to add this into any of your apps or your Power Automate flows, and you can test it out live. So I can click upload here, go into my receipts folder, and test it out and see if the documents or the receipts that I have meet the requirements. And it's pretty intuitive, so I can see that there's something wrong with the requirement. Maybe it doesn't meet the correct format. And the documentation is pretty good about letting you know what's wrong. So let's try another one. So it looked like it liked this Kroger one a bit better. So it's going to scan this and try to identify, like, there you go, like the merchant name. And it was able to even go in line and find all the items from the receipt and their corresponding prices and the total. So pretty cool to be able to test that first just to make sure it's even working, right? And again, some best practices for this. This isn't intended for your full page invoices. This is a model that is for those, store type receipts, sales receipts. So just keep that in mind when you're training this. If you wanted to have like the form full page invoice, that would be a use case for forms processing rather than this receipts processing. It is going to be a little bit picky. So if you notice that first time I tried to try it out, it said it wasn't eligible or couldn't use that one. It's probably because that image was a little bit crumpled. So you do have to make sure you straighten it out and it's not a crumpled image for this to get the best results. And don't use complex images. It needs to be an image of a single receipt, not 3 receipts in one image. So as long as you're following these general guidelines, then this control and model should work great for you. Same thing here, you can click use in a flow or use in an app. Use in a flow will, again, give you some of those pre-built templates. So there's one here for tracking expenses via your OneDrive. So say you upload your receipts to OneDrive, it'll go use the receipt scanning functionality within Power Automate, and it will add that into an Excel spreadsheet. So that's a pretty cool workflow process that you can have out of the box. And I really like starting with these templates. So even if you didn't, maybe you want to add it to Excel, but you wanted to add it to like a SharePoint list or whatever it might be, or a database, you can just use this template and have all the actions pre-built for you to extract the information and just add on what you need. As you can see, pretty simple. There's a action within Power Automate to process and save information from receipts. So you just point that to the location of the receipt that you need to process, and then you can have the properties from that receipt. But looking at this from a Power Apps perspective, if we want to integrate that, we can go here onto the screen and go to Insert, AI Builder, and add that receipt processor control. And same thing, so we want to be able to see like the output from the receipt. So let's just add in a text input. And let's see, what's the name of this? It's receipt processor 1. So we'll do the same thing where we'll type the name of that receipt processor control and do a dot. And again, we'll see all the properties that it's going to extract from that. So we can get the merchant name there. And for this one, let's get maybe the subtotal. And for that, let's get the tax just to test this out. So let's run this. We can go and click scan receipt. I'll use this Kroger example since I know that worked before. It's going to run and scan. And there we go. So we see it's returning the vendor name and looks like it got the tax. So wasn't able to find the subtotal, but it got close. So it's as simple as that to be able to process these receipts. So it's really good if you're using this from a Power Apps perspective, right? In case it didn't find some of this information, to be able to give the user the ability to scan it, have it in a text input like this. So if anything is wrong, they can always come in here and quickly fix that and then submit it and save it and move on with whatever your process is. Any questions so far? I don't see anything in the chat, but if you do have any questions or want me to go over something again, just feel free to come off mute. Okay, let's see. So the other thing is the text recognizer. So it's another pretty cool one. So if we click on their text recognition. So what this is going to enable you to do is take a photo of text and it'll get the text from that. So this is that thing that works on printed and handwritten text. So again, this is something that you need to follow the best practices since this is a standard model that you can't really customize. You need to make sure that the text, that you're passing in is images with just one column of text. So those situations where you might have like a 3-column layout, it's probably not going to work as you would expect it. And of course, you need to be really high contrast, clear images so for this to work the best. Some of the built-in templates for flow with this is like again, an instant flow, or from an Outlook scenario. So say you get an email with an image, it's able to search that image and get the text out of that. So for this case, how this looks, let's just look at this template first. So it's using that predict action again for the image that you upload. And you can get a variable to extract out the extracted lines from that text recognition model. because that's going to be an array. Because obviously, if you have a document with a lot of text, it's going to basically take each line of that and output that into an array. So you'll need to loop through that to get the values for each line and put that detected text into your database and append that all together. That's kind of how that's working. From the Power Apps side for that, so we'll go to Text Recognizer. So we can go back to our AI Builder tab and insert the Text Recognizer control. Okay. Okay, and let's just add in, I'll add in a rich text editor for this. That might work out well. And let's point that to our text recognizer. Dot results. Text. Let's see. So that's a table. So yeah, maybe the easiest way to do that would maybe be a gallery. Just because it's, like I said, it's going to get those lines of text. Text recognizer 1. Dot results. Dot text. Okay. So to test this out, we'll go to new image and let's try this. So this is just a patient medical history form, which I'll use this here in a second. We'll show how we can use this for the forms processing capability as well. But you see kind of how this works for the text recognition. It's just going to go line by line when it identifies any text in here and output that into a new line. So what you'll have to do if you want to take the text from there and like add it into a control is kind of append all of that together in some way, kind of like how Power Automate was doing that with appending it to an array. So same thing in Power Apps. You could go and do like a concat on this for each of those and string it all together. So, all right, cool. We're moving along here. As you, hopefully you can see, there's so many possibilities with this, and it's super easy to set up. So those are the main pre-built ones that I wanted to touch on. We might go back to some if we have time. But now I wanted to move on and talk about those custom models. And there we go. Let's just switch back over to here real quick. So forms processing. So what this is going to enable you to do is identify and extract key value pairs and table data from form documents. So this is a custom model, meaning you have to train it first to be able to use it. So it's going to use that AI to extract data from documents and automate the processing of that. And there's also support here for handwritten text. Now, for this to truly work, you need to make sure that the documents that you're training your model for are the same. So in the demo that I'm going to show you, it's going to be for health records. So it's going to be this standard form where it's going to have allergy intolerances. And it's going to have a from and a to, patient name, drug name, and code, right? So it's all standard information. That's how this form processing is going to work the best. Now, coming down the pike for future iterations of this, it is going to support multiple document layouts in a single model. But as of now, if you have different document layouts like that, you would need different models for each type of document to train. But hopefully soon, multiple document layouts will be released. And then also support for supervised learning. So the way the model works is it's going to suggest the fields to tag, but you'll be able to also manually tag those coming soon. And are some limitations on like the file size, so that's going to be up to a little bit, so you can have larger files. And I think right now you can have like PDFs, PNGs, JPEGs. That we don't support TIFF files right now, but that's also coming. So, all right. So with that, let's go switch back over and we'll do a demo of forms processing. So for this, we'll want to go and click on the form processing button. And now we actually have to build a model. Again, we can see examples of how this is going to work. So this is an invoice example. So it'll extract some key information like the date, the due date, and the bill to, and we can map those and add those into our data source. Highlighting those best practices again, just to reiterate, these documents do need to be the same layout. And it kind of tends to mess up a little bit if these documents have a lot of images or checkboxes. So just be aware of that when you wanted to use that. So the simpler, the better for these document templates. And this is just because, this is a low code version, so kind of more of a lightweight version of the AI tools. So we can't have complete customization of it, right? And each document should be a separate file, so don't upload multiple documents at once when you're training. And then, ideally they use primarily text. So just keep those guidelines in mind when we're using this. All right, so to get started though, first thing you need to do is give your AI a model. So you can have multiple models. For this one, I want this to be for allergy intolerances. And what you'll need, it tells you exactly, we need at least 5 documents with the same layout to train your model. So I'm going to click create here. And ideally, you have more than that. The more the better when it comes to training these so that it can really identify any of those nuances and be optimized. But you just need a minimum of 5. And we'll see that it does support JPEG, PNG, or PDFs right now. So if your document is in any other format besides that, it's not going to work with the forms processing capability. And it's going to support up to 50 megabytes or 500 pages total, right? So we can click add documents and upload our sample documents here. It's pretty cool. We can, if you're using Azure Blob Storage, you can import directly from there, or you can import directly from SharePoint. And of course, you can upload from local storage when you do this, which is what I'm going to do. These are the patient medical forms that I want to upload to optimize this. Now, I could go on and add all of these, but I need to be able to test my model. So I don't want to add all of these and upload them to train, because then I'm not going to get correct results and know if it's really trained well if the document that I'm testing against has already been used to train the model. So I'll just do this top row. Let's see, we need 5. So I'll do those and then I'll use these to test, okay? Let's click open. And that's going to confirm the documents that I have and confirm the file size, make sure that they meet the requirements. So now I can click upload. And that's going to go through and upload those into our model so that it can begin processing them. So they were successful. So I can click close and I'm going to see a preview of the documents. Click on those, make sure they look okay. And now I can just click analyze. And that's going to start the process of training the model. And this can take a few minutes, should be pretty fast since I only uploaded 7 images and they're pretty lightweight though. Oh, okay, while this is running, I was noticing in the chat, someone asked, does text recognizer work with PDF as well? Yes, it does. Yeah, great question. So that'll work with PDF too. So I think it's the same for text recognizer. It's JPEGs, PNGs, and PDFs. All right. So now it's went and evaluated the forms that I just uploaded for this. Now I have to confirm the fields that it found that were consistent amongst those. So I can click on this option here. And so this is going to show me, it's going to highlight in these boxes which fields that it identified. So it was able to identify the patient, name, and code. So I can just look at those and verify that that looks correct. And if I don't want to use that in this forms model, I can hide that from there. And if I need to determine anything else from here, I can also kind of scan that and add that into my model. But it looks like it got everything I needed. I just want to extract the patient name and code from this. So I'm actually good to go. So I can save and close this now that I've verified that the data it's finding is correct. And whoops, there we go. Let me close that. So I'm just going to click the check mark next to those to verify that those are the ones that I do want to use and map to. So it's going to show the selected fields here and the data that I found from that. So I can click done. So it's going to tell the form model that those are the fields that are extracted and that you validated that. And now we can click next. It's going to give you the summary. So we're creating a forms processing model with 7 images, and it found these selected fields to extract data from. So now we can actually train it. So this is, usually pretty fast. So it looks like that's already complete, which is cool. So let's go to the details page. And so now we have our model, and from here we can do a quick test. So similar in those pre-built models that we looked at, and we were able to do some testing. We can do that here before we start trying to implement this in our applications. So if I click quick test, I can select upload from device and select one of these items that I haven't already trained the model with and click open. This is going to go run and use the AI model to try to extract the patient name and code from this. And you see that it worked because it highlighted that information in green. And I can see the confidence score. And the more that you use this and train it, these confidence scores will go up. But it identified my information correctly, so I know that my model is working. So now if I want to actually use this in Power Apps or Power Automate, all I have to do is publish the model, and then it will be ready to use. And I did see your question there about the receipt recognizer. I do believe that is the case, that it only works right now for US formatted receipts. So yes, unfortunately, for other countries, you will need to use a custom model like the text recognizer or forms processing or something like that to be able to format and use receipts scanning. Hopefully that will be addressed at some point, but I haven't heard in the, in this release wave of anything to address that yet. All right, so now that we have our model, let's go back to Power Apps and we'll look at how to use that from there. So on my form processing screen, I can go to AI Builder and add in the form processor control. And when you add in the form processor control, it's going to ask you which model do you want to use for this? Because like I said, you can have multiple models for different form processing. So there's the model that we just created for allergy intolerances. So I can select that. And that's going to bind this control to that model. So then I can do the same thing that we've been doing before. We can add in some text inputs. We'll add 3 different ones because we want to get the patient name, allergy, and code. So same as what we're doing before, we can bind this to that forms processor control and do a dot. And you'll need to get the fields property because that's going to show you the fields that it was able to find. And then this will give you those 3 fields that are recognized. So I can get the patient field there. And I can just copy that formula. And for here, we'll get the code. And for this one, get the allergy. Or the name, I think is what it was. Yep. Okay. So we'll do a quick test. We'll select Analyze from the form processor control. We'll select a different form. Click Open. It's going to run and do the processing with the model. And once it's complete, it should fill out. There we go. So we see the score and the fields that it found right there. We can zoom in with this control. So there's a plus and a minus, so we can see the information that it found and zoom out. And it filled in the data from our data source. Okay. And if you wanted to use that same model, you can click Use Model here, and it has the shortcuts for like a new flow so that you can use this in the AI Builder action, performance processing, and flow as well. So multiple options there for that. Okay. And the last big thing I wanted to show was the object detection capability. So this is another custom model. So if we go back to the build screen, we'll click on the option for object detection. And this one's a bit different. It requires more images than the forms processing. So you need at least 15 different images to be able to train this correctly. And again, we can look at some examples of how it's able to classify. So we can upload different tea cans and it can tell if this is a green tea or a mint tea or a cinnamon. Best practices for this also. You need to have the same number of images for each object. So you can train this object detection to tell, the difference between, in the case I'm going to be showing, apples and oranges, right? So if it says a 15 item minimum, then you should have at least, say, 10 pictures of apples and 10 pictures, or 15 pictures of apples and 15 pictures of oranges for this to be really optimized, okay? You want to make sure these images represent normal use. If you mix and match, say, like stock, like drawn photos of an apple or an orange versus a real life picture, that's not going to be a true comparison. So make sure that the image, that's what they mean by it's in the natural context. Yeah, so those are the main things you need to watch out for that. So we'll give this a name. So I'm going to call this model apples versus oranges. And we'll click create. So this is kind of going to guide you through the process. So it says the model needs to focus on specific types of objects. So you have to select kind of what you're going to be doing. So for example, if you know you're going to be using this to identify logos, then select this option because it will optimize the training of the model for that. If it's going to be object on retail shelves, because like the example I said earlier, where it's able to scan like a vending machine and be able to tell what's in it, there's a model option to optimize it for that. For everything else, if it's not something on a retail shelf or not a brand logo, then choose the common objects option. Okay. So since I'm doing apples and oranges, we're going to do common objects. And it'll show you examples. So there's like a drone out there, a skateboard, and how it can identify the different objects. So let's click next. Now we have to choose the objects for our model. So I'm going to go to add new object. And this is where you tell it what objects are we classifying. So I'm going to be classifying apples and oranges. So we're going to click next. Now that we have the object names we're trying to identify, and now we're to the point where we need to upload the images so that I can train the model. So we'll select add images. I'll do from local storage again. And we'll go back a few, and I have an image recognizer. So I'm just going to upload several of these images. Here's some apples, 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to highlight all of these except a few. Let's see. Trying to make sure I have enough. Okay, start there. Uh-oh, invalid file. That's not good. Let's see. So they're JPEG up to, oh, I might have had too large of files. Let's try that again. Let's see, for example, on this one. Nope, that's 5. Huh, see, I'm learning as I'm showing you this. I might have had it. Yeah, it might be too small. of a file. I just quickly downloaded these. Well, darn. Wonder if any of these are valid. Nope. Yeah, so I just copied it from the internet. I think what I did there is they're too small of an image. They need to be kind of higher quality images. So let me think real quick if I have anything else I could train it on handy with high quality images. Probably not. Okay, so you would just go through and add the images, train the model, and let's see. There's an example out there that I can show that's already built real quick. So to use it, just like all the other ones, you could add the object detector control. And yeah, so I don't have a model yet. And then you would point it to the model and it would be able to identify the image. And I'm sorry that I should have validated that those images were good before this. I thought that they were, that I saw the file sizes were good. But it's really the same process as the form. And it's going to identify the images and be able to tell you, like, this is an apple, this is an orange, scenario like that. Let's see. All right, what else did I have to show here? Let's go back to this. So yeah, so object detection. So some things that are upcoming for this as well. So we already have, as you saw, the ability to import from SharePoint blob storage. But it's also going to allow you to have domain-specific object detection for better accuracy for those retail and logo scenarios, which you saw. Just a little bit more explanation on like the text classification piece. So what that's going to allow you to do is be able to tell, like for example, is this text related to a specific thing, right? So this can be built within Power Apps that's coming down the pipeline as well. So we can look at that really quick since this object detection didn't exactly go my way. We can go to the AI builder and build. And let's see, what do we, so there's category classification. Oh, sentiment analysis, that's a pretty cool one. So if we go to that one, so this will be really useful like in a review type scenario. So, and there's a built-in try it out. So you can choose like a sample phrase, like my device stopped working. And what it will do is it'll run it through and then be able to identify that that's negative. So that's a really helpful one too. So if I were to, again, you know, it's best for smaller sentences in the same language and all of that. But you can run this through. A common use case for this would be with a flow. So you get like some kind of review or an email in this case. So you get an email notification from your manager. Let's look at this template here. And that keeps switching me back to different environments. You click continue. So this is going to be able to run through the sentiment analysis, the email that you were received. Here we go. And it will identify the text that you pass it in, whether it's positive or negative, and it will send you a notification. So that's kind of cool. If you want to get like instant push notifications, if your boss sends you an angry email, there's actually a template for that. So you can address that right away. So that's a really helpful one also. And I know we're getting close to time here. So I'm going to probably, let's point you to some resources. This is kind of a link here for the end all be all documentation on AI builders. So kind of anything that you need to know is on that docs.microsoft link right there. And then there's also a link for the capacity estimator so that you can determine if you're wanting to use these in a production scenario, what kind of licensing capacity that you'll need. That, I wanted to make sure that I left at least 5 minutes or so for questions. So if we have anything, let me go back and check the chat here. Okay, so it looks like I have another one. Someone asked, can we use AI Builder to find discrepancies in a document For example, before I send a proposal to my customer, it must have certain sections in it. In case some section is missing, then it would raise a flag. Yeah, so you can train it, and if that, a field that you map is blank, so you obviously have to upload enough forms that has that value in there so that it knows it needs to be looking for that field. But you certainly could have like a workflow process that says, if this field from the form detection is blank, then notify me, send a notifier, send an email or something like that. So that's definitely something you can do with the form control, form processing. Well, I don't see anything else in the chat there. So.
Indeed. So yeah. Are there any questions from our audience? If so, please unmute your mic and ask the questions, because you still have a couple of minutes left before I start with my outro. So if you have a question, now is the time to ask the question. Let's see how many. We have still 10 participants in the meeting, I see. So
okay.
No questions, as it seems.
Guess not.
Guess not. So probably everything was well understood, I should say. Yes,
Hi,
go
Abdul.
ahead. Yeah.
I'm audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we should have a section for the licensing part also. I mean, we have understood the, capabilities of these models and other things, but there should be a session on what all kind of licenses are required for the end users. So I guess all these features are the premium features. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. So it is premium functionality. So you have to get capacity is kind of how that works. So you can do the trial, but you'll need to, there's a calculator, kind of what I was saying on the resources slide, where you'll need to run through and make sure that it's kind of like a usage scenario and capacity scenario. So, you have to estimate, if you're using the business card reader, how many business cards do you think you'll process a month? And it will give you an estimate there of the cost that you're going to have, right?
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see a question from Hans. Hans asks, will sentiment analysis automatically detect the language?
I don't believe it does. So that would probably be a scenario where you need to do a mixture. Well, yeah, that's a good question, actually. I haven't tried it in another language. Oh, no, yeah. So you have to select your input language. So it doesn't automatically do that. But I guess you get those to my, where I was going with that. You could probably use the language detection to first get the language and then pass that in to the sentiment analysis. Yep. So work around that.
Okay, so if there aren't any questions left, I will start with the outro, because I see we still have 3 minutes left. If not, then I think it's my I will do my part now. Okay, then let's start the outro then. Okay. Thanks thanks everyone for joining. Thanks April for this amazing session. It was quite how do you say it, knowledgeable. It was quite knowledgeable. We learned a lot. What I would say, for those who missed parts of this session, don't worry, as this will be made available through our resource channels. You can find these channels on our website as listed on the slide, www.bepafug.be. And what's for our next event will be held 1 week from now on the 24th of September, same time, same place. And who will be the host of this session? Actually, you will be the host of this session because this will be a Ask Me Anything, or how do they say it? A Q&A session. So you come with your challenges, you come with your questions, and we will try to answer those. So actually, this will be like an open forum. So be sure to register for this event. I will make the link available tomorrow or maybe Monday. No, the link is not available yet, but be ready and be part of this session. That will be on the 24th of September at 18:00 GMT. For now, I would say thanks again, April. Thanks again for your session. It was an honor to have you. And I would say to our audience, also thanks for being part of this session. And until the next time.
Thanks for having me.